Vision, I think, is imagining, if you can imagine what something could be. You know, in like if you could take a picture of something or paint a picture of what it's going to look like at the final stage. And that's the problem, is that I think people focus in on one building, one street, one thing. But for somebody to come together and say, this is what we imagine this could be, and it may not exactly come out like that, because somebody owns a piece of property that they have a different vision for that piece than you have,
right?
Or the economics didn't work out, or whatever. But the overall outline is maintained.
Yeah.
You just have to let people who are creative, and that's what I like. Your dad and I, it's like we sit down and riff about what might look like, and we sit down and I go, okay, here's what I want it to feel like. And so I'm not an architect, and I'm not an engineer. Well, I have an engineering degree, but I'm not an engineer. I know what I want it to feel like.
Sure, yeah.
And so you allow creative people to then draw stuff, and you're like, oh yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
You know, and then you bring another creative person in to review that, and then all of a sudden you've now created this vision of what this thing's going to look like.
Oh yeah.
And then you set about to, okay, how can we implement it?
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example. Is we had this one building in Crabapple that was going to be 3-story food hall on the bottom and residential office above it. And it sounded like a great idea 24 months ago. Well, in light of all the things that have happened, I felt like a food hall was a bad idea. But people love porches and rooftop bars, and so I started walking around town and saying, well, what looks good, what's successful?
Right.
You know, I saw one place that had a rooftop bar, but nobody went, or rooftop access, but nobody went up there because there was no reason to go up there. There was no music, no service, just a place to go sit. Well, that's not activated. But then on another place where they, Jekyll Brewery put an Airstream up on top and turned it into their bar, and they got an outdoor porch, and people, it's filled. You can't get out there. You got to fight to find a place.
Yeah.
So I created. I told your dad, hey, this is what I want: a bunch of rooftop bars, outdoor spaces. It makes people feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Particularly now, and I don't think that goes away. I think it's seared in our brains. We want to be outdoor space as much as we can.
Yeah.
So let's build a building with the maximum amount of outdoor spaces.
Yeah.
And we created this really cool building. I hope we can finance it and build it and
that's
make
a problem
some money.
for later.
Yeah. but the vision was, I just told him what I wanted, and then you hire this professional who can see your vision and interpret it. And I thought that was...
And that's a talent in and of itself.
Yeah. And I learned that a long time ago. If you tell a photographer, an artist, draw this, then they feel confined to what you told them to do.
Yeah.
And then they can't...
That strips them of their creativity.
Right. And we had somebody paint a piece for us. They came and I commissioned her to paint for something for us. And she said, what do you want? And I go, what do you want to draw? What do you want to paint?
Yeah.
So she came and interviewed us and asked us things about our lives and saw colors and things in our house and what we lived. And she said she repainted it literally like 3 times because she was so terrified to disappoint us. And so it drove her to be better.
Wow.
So that to me is that you unleash creativity from people who are creative.
Oh yeah.
Man, the world's, can be really, truly a special place. And so I hope that we do that in our business, is to create special places.